Hello my friends and welcome. I hope you spent your new year great, because it wasn't that great for Russians, I would say, judging on this map. It was definitely one of the biggest and the most successful strike for a very long time. Probably the Russian air defense was just sleeping or celebrating the new year. For example, here is the Ilsky oil refinery facility that caught fire yesterday. It's Krasnodar Oblast, Russian Federation, that makes this refinery the first one to be burning in 2026. Hooray! That's the brighter image, and you may see some of the towers out there, and the facility was hit again in the most vulnerable place, distillation unit, and as it is reported by the time I am filming this video, firefighters continue to work in this place. For now, Ilsky refinery stopped its operation. Here we have the interactive video. So Ilsky oil refinery is 380 kilometers away from Ukrainian controlled territory. It's quite big. The size is like the half of the city, and this video already showed you. Also, NASA fire detection satellites confirmed the fire in Ilsky refinery that appeared yesterday for whatever reason. Also, the oil base in Ludinovo, Russian Federation, was on fire. Well, actually, there were many of the oil bases. I have this list. I want to tell you what Ukraine hit the last night. So, Ilsky oil refinery, you already know about it. Molchansk power plant in Zaporizhia. Tuapse oil port, once again, we don't have the video confirmation from the place, but the locals report about kabooms. Oil terminal Taman-Neftegaz, Krasnodar Oblast of the Russian Federation. Kombinat Rosreserve, that is used also to store Russian oil. It's called TEMP in Rybichinsk or Rybinsk, Yaroslavska Oblast. And the oil base that I showed you here, it's from the same place, also Yaroslav Oblast. Kaluga Oblast, one more oil base. Tatarstan, oil base. Rovenki, that's the occupied territory. Luhansk Oblast also was kaboomed by Ukrainian drones. Nice. And you know, something tells me that if the year started from this massive strike on Russia, those attacks will continue almost every night or every day. Yes, Russia also yesterday hit some of the cities of Ukraine with their drones, as usual civilian infrastructure, but Ukraine is more successful in damaging the Russian economic facilities. All of those oil bases, refineries, power plants, which are used to maintain normal economy or normal way of life in Russia, because for now it is still more or less normal, but it will decline this year. It's 100%. And Ukraine does everything to make it happen faster, applying those kinetic sanctions. And here we have the video of the port of Taman-Neftegaz that I mentioned to you in this big list. It was hit just yesterday. The oil infrastructure, those pipelines which are used to transport the oil itself. You may see some of the tanker nearby, and again one more part of the oil infrastructure. Fantastic job done by our military intelligence services. Yes, it's GUR probably, they did this job. And they hit the infrastructure in the occupied territory, some of the storages of the Russian vehicles, and we have, by the way, a big video about it from the ground. I shared this video fully on my Telegram channel today. Lots and lots of the trucks and other vehicles were kaputted. This is the KAMAZ truck. And also Russia lost tons of the munition. You see, those are the shells on the picture. Yeah, the facility was definitely devastated, and it also holds Russians from the full-scale attacks, because they're in lack of the munition and in lack of the transport. And here we have the video of the Ukrainian drone operation against the Russian air defense systems. For example, this is Tor M2, very capable one, a middle short-range system. The previous year, Russia lost multiple of those systems, S-400s, S-300s, Panzer 1S. They're the usual targets for Ukrainian drones. This is also the part of the Russian air defense, Vites radar. Yeah, it was hit. And something terrible happened for Russians in Horly village. There was some sort of the restaurant, and it was the New Year celebration. As Ukrainian channels say, it was the military. Some of the Russian officers were listening to the greetings from Putin and so on. There were also civilians, presumably relatives of those Russian officers. And yes, something went wrong with cafe. Russia says that it was the Ukrainian drone strike. Even alcoholic Medvedev wrote today on his Telegram channel calling for revenge against Ukrainians elsewhere, not just in Ukraine, but also in other countries. The Russian media says that there were tons and tons of people, but judging on those videos and photos taken from the place, I didn't see lots of the bodies, like just really few. Plus, Russians say that no military personnel was there, but what else can they say, yeah? And Ukrainian officials, they do not comment that, but Ukrainian military bloggers, Ukrainian analytics, they say that it was definitely a military personnel celebrating a new year instead of probably stopping Ukrainian drones flying to Russia. Well, I'm gonna get more information about that one and update you tomorrow, hopefully. And whether the strike was legit? Of course, there is no limit for the self-defense for Ukraine by the time Russia is doing absolutely war crimes against civilians, against the military, because recently I also saw multiple of the videos from the front lines, how Russians just zeroed civilians in Pokrovsk, 7 of them, and 3 of the service members of Ukrainian army not far away from Hulaypole, who surrendered to Russians. They were handcuffed and later on flatlined by Russian infantry. It's terrible what Russia is doing in Ukraine, so this kaboom of the restaurant in Hurley is pretty much proper reward for them. Ukraine is defending itself. And yeah, we have some of the names coming. Totally 7 people were published who were flatlined in Hurley. And this guy is the ex-chief of the local police office. Again, they were there with their families. It looks like we are collecting more information coming from Russia, mostly because only they have this information. Now let's go to the other news, more closer to the front lines. Another new year at war, Ukraine's troops doubt it will be the last. And I expect also this war to continue. After a year of Russian advances, the goal of 2026 is simply to survive, said one of the officers in the eastern Ukraine. It is hard to make any plans, he said. He also mentioned that the Ukrainian soldiers are sure that they will celebrate the new year of 2027 in the trenches, the same as they met 2026. And we see how Russia is still going to continue this war. There is no any sign for Putin to stop, and with their nonsense about so-called Ukrainian attack on Putin's residency, they basically want to escalate and to exit any sort of the peace agreements or even negotiations about the possible peace, which were partially achieved by United States, Ukraine, and European Union. It is already vivid that Putin's goal is the war. And yesterday evening we obtained the information from the intelligence of the United States of America, CIA. Basically, they shared this information to Wall Street Journal, and also New York Post published this one, that the United States finds Ukraine didn't target Putin in drone strike. Yes, it's the bullshit that was spread by the Russian propaganda. The only reason for that was to cancel any sort of the peace agreements and the possible security guarantees for Ukraine. It seems like after all, Ukraine, United States, and European Union finally found some of the common point, at least on security guarantees. And now it's just a question of the time for how long those security guarantees could be applied on Ukraine. Donald Trump promises 15 years, Zelensky asks for 50 years. But I honestly do not believe in those security guarantees, especially with Donald Trump. Not even the Article 5 of NATO could guarantee security for Europe nowadays, because the United States, they're not going to deploy their forces. It's already evident. Donald Trump also shared the New York Post article telling about the lies that was spread by Putin, by Lavrov and Russian regime about the fake attack on Putin. So Putin's attack blaster shows Russia is the one standing in the way of peace. So with these lies, Putin worsened the situation for him, because Donald Trump, well, I don't honestly believe that he is a full Russian assert. He just listens to his incompetent people in that circle, like, for example, Vitkov or maybe Kushner, who would like to have this business as usual with Russia. And personally, Donald Trump, he likes those dictators. Yes, it's his fetish, but if those dictators that try to push him really evident in front of everyone, pretty much hard, as it was here with Putin's fake attack, well, there could be some of the reaction from Donny, especially with those sanctions, and he spoke about tomahawks. So after all, I think whether Trump likes it or not, but the United States will have to support Ukraine. There is a chance for it. It's very tiny with Donald Trump. I still do not expect anything good from him, but still there is the chance that Donald Trump will start support Ukraine. Not as much as Joe Biden, I would say, but there could be some of the positive things happening. Like, for example, the positive thing with this current administration, that's what I mentioned in the previous video, that Ukraine has no any obstacles from the United States to strike Russian refinery capabilities, Russian oil infrastructure, and even Russian oil tankers, or tankers which are registered in different countries but continue to operate with the Russian oil, so-called Russian shadow oil fleet. I think Putin really misunderstands his role when he communicates with Donald Trump. For Donald Trump, Putin will be second figure. Donald Trump on top and Putin is second, not the first. But Putin wants to be some sort of the alpha male, and he wants to outplay Donald Trump openly in front of everyone, humiliating him. But there is a red line which probably was crossed by faking this attack attempt on Putin. But for how long Trump is going to realize that he is fooled? Maybe for a couple of weeks, 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Russians even published this map showing how Ukrainian drones went from Ukraine towards Bryansk and Smolensk Oblast, and later on they wanted to attack Putin's residency. There was also lots of the AI videos shared on X, but some of the people were stupid enough to believe in that bullshit. Not just people, but world leaders like Modi from India, or officials from UAE, or Pakistani officials. They definitely condemned this attack on Putin, on Russian dictator, villain, second Hitler, you may call him, murderer. And they say, oh, Ukraine is bad, Ukraine is terrible. But even that attack is a fake one. Basically, Russian propaganda pointed just for Donald Trump. That's it. Yeah, this is a complete hypocrisy. They haven't even cross-checked this information. Officials, freaking leaders of the countries. Oh, it is bad. For what reason it is bad at first, and for the second, it didn't happen. As United States intelligence already mentioned, and other intelligence services as well, for example, there was a report from France. It's getting cringier and cringier with this simulated Russian drone attack on Putin, with this fake operation, and they called the representative of Pentagon to Russian, some sort of the military institution in Russia, and they presented the controller of the drone that allegedly was flying to hit poor Russian dictator. They proclaimed that they decoded something, the precise coordinates and everything, and they gave the controller to that guy, American representative. And Russians still insist that Ukrainians try to hit Putin. Despite what intelligence says, Ukraine says, other allies and partners, it's just Russia. They want to play this game. They shut down drones mostly over Bryansk Oblast, but they were flying to hit Putin. Ukraine would never commit those kind of the operations with the help of the long-range drones. It's not effective at all. A small FPV may be placed somewhere on the way near Putin's car, could be, but long-range drones, well spotted a long time before they go somewhere. Putin has so much time to get to his bunker. Maybe he lives there, not maybe, but for sure. So Russians, they continue to insist and play this nonsense again and again. Our poor dictator Putin was nearly harmed. Yeah. Also, they shared somehow this video, and they tell that it's the confirmation of the exact moment then the Russian operators of the air defense systems shut down Ukrainian drones which were flying to hit the Putin's residency. Of course, they'll have this camera showing them in operation, 100%. Like, this is just so absurd. So low. And still there are the people who believe in this bullshit. Well, it seems like United States, they do not believe in that any longer, but Russia continued to push. No, those were Ukrainian drones. Come on. Trust us, trust Putin. And Putin also said that they will harden their rhetorics towards Ukraine or harden their demands because of this alleged attack. That was the main reason to outplay this scenario. Remember how in 2023, before the Ukrainian counteroffensive, Russia was damn scared and they told about the Ukrainian dirty bomb, yeah? And after 1 month or so, everyone forgot about that one. Shoigu was the main driver of those rumors about dirty bomb. 2.5 years have passed since those rumors, and it seems like it was nothing burger as all about the Russian propaganda and the Russian official statements. And now let's go to Pokrovsk. Our guys fired fireworks out there, showing their presence right in the middle of this settlement. It was filmed by Ukrainian drone, and Russians also understood that there is the presence of Ukrainians in Pokrovsk still. It is the marking that Russians for a long time, already more than a year, incapable to occupy Pokrovsk fully at least, and even Mirnograd is not under their control. And the idea of this, you may call it stunt, is just to prove that Russians are wrong, that Putin is wrong, saying that Pokrovsk is fully occupied or encircled. No, Ukrainians may carry lots of the load of the fireworks just to celebrate a new year in the city. Because, in the rest of the cities of Ukraine, you cannot fire fireworks, and people don't want to do it because they're scared of those explosions. But here, why not? Yeah, why not to show Russians that they really suck? Having so much of the resources and capable to occupy 1% of Ukrainian territory in 2025. 1%, and they lost so many soldiers. At the same time, they're grinding down their economy. They lost so many soldiers. This war is madness. And tomorrow I'm gonna record one more video, maybe different format. Then I'll tell you the biggest mistake that Putin done in 2025 could be a grave mistake for him, and it's even worse than the start of the war against Ukraine. Oh yeah, guys, I'm sorry. According to statistics from the deep state military map, and they're very precise in analysis of the front lines, they tell more or less the real picture. Well, it was less than 1%. According to their calculations, Russia occupied 0.72%, less than percent, and wasted tens of thousands of the soldiers, and in general perspective hundreds of thousands if we calculate also wounded personnel, for 0.72% the last year of the Ukrainian territory. As for the front lines for today, there were no drastic changes, the same positions that Russia occupied a few days ago. In general, the front lines are boiling, and Russia tries to occupy Gulaipole fully. There is now Ukrainian counteroffensive, but it seems like Ukraine will not be capable to repel Russian attacks. And towards the east of Gulaipole, there is the presence of the Ukrainian armed forces. Probably they're going to Gulaipole itself for attack operations, and this area is already in a gray zone. Well, there could be small groups of the Russian attack forces. As you see, they are creating this pocket for Ukrainian group south from Gulaipole, and later on Ukraine will have to withdraw the forces from this place, moving them towards the main defense line. The idea for Russia is to propel towards Zaporizhia this year, 2026. They really want to capture the city, but it's too big prey for Russian army in its current state. Iran, new protests erupt because of the devaluation of the currency and huge rate of inflation. It's now up to 40%. Well, hopefully, finally, it will lead to the regime change in Iran, because before there were massive protests already, but they just finished. And you see, they're going out on the streets even under threat of being imprisoned and even flatlined by Ayatollah regime. Russians, they do nothing. They simply do not care. Where are those millions of Russians who are opposing Putin's regime? Why are they just sitting calm and filming some of the drone videos for us? Sometimes they're military correspondents. They're pretty much okay. with Russia, with the regime, because they are sick of this chauvinism virus, unlike Iranians. I hope that Iranians will be finally successful. They're doing something. And I wish them luck, of course, because Ayatollah regime, they cannot rule country normally. They're just those fanatics. You cannot trust fanatics' economics, otherwise they will break it down. And that's why Iranians, they live in poverty, because it's also kind of profitable for those dictators, for people just to struggle. That's how Putin hires those mobilized military men or volunteers who get millions of rubles just for signing the contract with the Russian army, and it's one-way ticket, it's understandable. And it goes for every sort of the dictator. They simply do not want their people to live normal life, and that's what Donald Trump doesn't understand. And he proposes some of the business deal to North Korea or to Russia. No, it's useless. It's for nothing. Yeah, it's getting hot there in Iran. I see more and more videos coming. It intensive, situation escalates, and whether it's good, I hope that it will go without any sort of the casualties, and they will somehow be able to change the regime. The destiny of Ayatollah is already understandable. Iranians will get rid of the regime. It's just a matter of time, and as well as the destiny of other dictators. They will not live for long. In a modern-day global world, it's not possible to be a dictator for a long time. Fantastic news. Actually, I believed in the bad news before that Denis Kapustin, Rex call sign, who is the commander of the Russian Volunteer Corps, previously, he was reported to be unalived on the front lines with the help of the FPV drones, but it was the special operation performed by Ukrainian military intelligence and Budanov personally, where the chain of the Russians involved in the possible assassination of Rex was uncovered. And they wasted lots of the money on this attempt to eliminate Denis, roughly $500,000, as it was said by Budanov. So the misinformation was shared on purpose by Ukrainian intelligence, and it was done so brilliantly that everyone believed, and it helped a lot in general to this investigation to uncover who is involved. And good news, Rex is alive, and he will continue to defend Ukraine with his Russian Volunteer Corps. Those are the only good Russians, as for me, who definitely do a real thing for their country to be out of the Putin's regime. And the proper thing to do is to help Ukraine. Well, I also support those Russians who support and donate for Ukrainian army, for Ukrainian volunteers. Those are also good Russians. A unique video was shared today by eyewitnesses from Odessa. This is Yakolev 52 flying, and this is Russian Shahed. Sorry, kind of loud, I guess. And this is Yakolev. Again, it flies in parallel to shut down Shahed drone, and you see Shaheds, they're flying very, very low. Again, this is the Shahed, and it's different modification, I would say, yeah? It seems for me that it has the engine in the front, not in the back. After all, it's kind of hard to judge on that particular image. And now Odessa is this big target for Russians, probably the most important one. They hit Ukrainian grain infrastructure and port infrastructure to cancel Ukrainian abilities to trade. That's what Ukraine does in Novorossiysk, for example, and I believe that finally Ukraine will be successful in kaputting the entire oil infrastructure of Novorossiysk. But Russia also hits Ukraine pretty much hard, and just recently Russia aimed towards several commercial vessels that went to Odessa, and of course those companies that send their vessels to Ukraine, they will be concerned and may not like to operate under those huge risks of the Russian Navy attacks in the Black Sea. And my separate thanks here to my Patreon supporters and also members of YouTube channel. Guys, you're making my job possible. Thank you so much for employing me for this mission. Because of you only, I'm capable to film videos every day. Thanks, guys. You're just amazing. And if you want to join membership or Patreon, check out the link in the video description right below for Patreon. And for membership, if you watch me on YouTube, just press join button somewhere over here. But if you don't have this opportunity, you may just like this video and subscribe to the channel to boost it in algorithms. Thank you so much, my friends, for your awesome support. I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.